president of the condo called and said I was approved for Hillcrest. And in talking to him, I found out that he used to work for the Library of Congress. He was
Wow.
very interested that I'm a librarian. And my apartment will be 614. And he informed me that as the president of the building, he lives in 611. So he'll find out every little infraction rule I'm breaking.
That's Sam, right? Sam.
Okay. Hey, hi, Brandy.
Yes,
Tell him that you're friends with me.
And Perry is going to be on soon. And Betty, we lost Betty. I hope they rejoin. So Shabbat Shalom. Oh, I see your guitar there, Randy. Randy, can you hear us? Randy? Can you hear us? I think you might be on mute.
Yeah.
Good. Okay. So, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah. Okay. So this week we begin the book of Shemot, which is Exodus. Now, there's something that I think is a little bit relevant to the events.
Now I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Hi, guys.
So what I want to focus in on an aspect of this week's Torah portion that I think is quite relevant to some of the events that have transpired in our country during this last week. Aspects of leadership. What constitutes a leadership? A good leadership quality. So, in this week's Torah portion, we see that a new pharaoh has arisen in Egypt who did not know Joseph, and it's a new regime. And Joseph and his family, our ancestors, were well regarded by the earlier pharaoh who welcomed us into Egypt. Some people think that there are all sorts of historical theories about this, that there was a Semitic people called the Hyksos who had conquered Egypt, and they since we were sort of linguistic cousins of them, they felt comfortable having us there. And according to some historians, the more nativist elements rebelled against the Hyksos, threw them out, and enslaved us, seeing us as a questionable minority group. But I'm not going to get into that. Now, we do know that our people was enslaved by gradually by the pharaoh. Apparently, he did it very gradually. Sort of. He used soft words. Perach rach. They talk is the phrase here. He sort of soft pedaled the oppression of the Jews, and then gradually, as our freedoms were taken away, little freedoms were taken away, all of our freedoms were taken away. The idea, that some people have taken from that experience is watch a bully. A bully might sweet talk you, slowly take away your freedoms, and then. But when you finally realize what's going on, it's too late. So be that as it may. Now, Moses arises. Moses, and we're not so sure how he became aware of his background as a Hebrew, but somehow in his, even though he was a privileged member of Pharaoh's court, somehow he becomes aware that he is a Hebrew. And here he is, this Egyptian gentleman, this aristocrat, very different from his from his people. He goes wandering. We see we see him developing this this identification with the Hebrew people. Later on in the Sedra, yeah.
Rabbi, may I just ask, I mean, wasn't he in contact with his mother and sister growing
Well-
up, or no, we don't
Well,
know?
you know, we do know that his mother was hired as his wet nurse. That
Yes,
is all that we are told.
okay,
Maybe she indicated to him his background, but other than that, it's kind of vague. We don't know how
okay.
the exactly but that could very well have been, maybe it was his mother's influence. Later on in the Sedra, we see him in the land of Midian, and you know, the burning bush, and God addressing him, and God says, I want you, Moses, to go back and lead the Jewish people out of Egypt. Moses resists. 4 times he has to be asked, 4 times. And he keeps saying, no, get someone else to do this. You know, I don't want to do it. Get someone else to do it. He makes all sorts of excuses. He says, you know, I'm not a man of words. I have a speech impediment after all. How am I going to lead the people? And God says, no, Moses, you are the one that I designate to go back. Now, some people have joked over the years, that made him the great leader that he was, because he didn't want to be a leader. Someone who wants to be a leader too much, maybe you should suspect that, their intentions. Not always, but he resisted leadership. Maybe he understood something that has that has played out in Jewish history for the last 3,000 years. One, Sver zu sein Yid. Someone translates Sver zu sein Yid. What does that mean in Yiddish?
Do you
It's
know,
hard.
Stan?
Sver zu sein Yid. It's hard to be a Jew,
Yeah.
but it's even harder to be a leader of the Jews. It's even harder. It's hard enough being Jewish. Try leading Jews. And where did he come to, where did he learn this? How did he come to this conclusion? Well, you remember earlier in the Sedra, there he is again. He's an Egyptian gentleman, an aristocrat, but he has an identity, a self identity as a Jew. He's wandering around. He sees an Egyptian taskmaster beating on a Jewish slave. And what does he do? He intervenes. He kills the taskmaster. You know, he's so angry about the oppression of his people. It's questionable that he really have to kill him or not. I'm not going to go into that, but that's what he did. What happens the next day? He's wandering again the next day in the Jewish camp, in the camp of the Hebrews, and he sees 2 Jews this time fighting. And he breaks it up. He intervenes. And what do? Do you remember what they do? They turn to him and they go, who do you think you are? Who appointed you our leader, that you think you can lord it over us? Are you going to kill us like you killed the Egyptian yesterday? They turn on him. They're almost, you know, they turn on him. And putting his life actually in peril. He realizes, oh my goodness, it's out there, and they're talking about what I did yesterday. He learns that it's difficult to lead the Jewish people. Now, you see him suffering with the burden of leading the Jewish people later on in the Torah. In the book of Deuteronomy, we read, he's almost having a breakdown. Moses is almost having, maybe he did have something of a breakdown. He says, how can I bear all these burdens? You remember, so often the Hebrews rebel against him. You know, they in so many instances, they are rebelling against him and they are wearing him out. He has, you know, in the book of Numbers, chapter 11, verse 11 through 15, if you got a Bible, you might want to take a look. He is just about had it. He's having what really amounts to a breakdown, you know, and guess what? Strong people in leadership can become very discouraged. You know, some of our greatest leaders have become very depressed in trying to carry out. So what does he do? Listen to these words. Listen to these words of desperation. He asks the Lord, this is what it says, why have you brought this trouble on your servant? God, what have you done to me? What have you done to me, making me the leader of these Jews? What have I done to displease you that you put the burden of all these people on me? What did I do to you, God? He's saying, what did I do to you that you make me the leader? Did I conceive all of these people? Am I their mother? Did I give them birth? It's almost funny, but it's sad. You can hear these words of desperation. Why do you tell me to carry them in my arms? I guess his arms are just feeling so heavy, tired. As a nurse carries an infant, they're babies. All they do is complain. Kvetch, kvetch, kvetch. Second guess me everything I do. Why do I have to be like a nurse carrying them in my arms to the land that you promised their ancestors? And then he goes on to say, now listen, this is really, he's quite depressed here. If this is how you're going to treat me, this is Moses talking to God. If this is how you're going to treat me, go ahead and kill me. I'd rather die. He is just, this is hard. This is hard. If I have found favor in your eyes, do not let me face my own ruin. That's what leadership can do to you. You know, don't be too anxious to be a leader. You know, it's tough going. Anyone who's ever taken on a leadership role in the Jewish community, whether it's a rabbi, whether it's the CEO of the federation, whatever it is, whether it's the prime minister, being the prime minister of Israel, knows this to be true. In one of the rebellions against, probably the most notable rebellion against Moses was,
Okay.
who was it? Who led it? You know it. Starts with K. Korach.
Korach. Yeah.
Remember Korach?
Korach.
Korach, and this Korach says in the book of Jude, in Numbers chapter 16, he says, they came as a group to oppose Moses and Aaron, and they said to them, you've gone too far. This Korach is saying, and we know he was a demagogue. He's pointing his finger at Moses and Aaron. You have gone too far. The whole community is holy, every one of them, and the Lord is with them. Why do you set yourselves above of the Lord's assembly? He says. Now we all know what Korach's motives were. He sounds like he's a democratic leader, but he's really a demagogue. We know that he was a very authoritarian kind of guy. He's stirring up the people against Moses and Aaron. But here's something he understood. He manipulated the people. He understood Korach was no dummy. He may have been a demagogue. He may have been a political opportunist, but he understood a fundamental truth about the Jewish people. He touched on the truth that the Jewish people is made up of very strong individuals. We're a highly individual people. We're a highly individual people, a very opinionated people. In Hebrew, we have been called an am kashay oraf, a stiff-necked people. We're a stiff-necked people. You can't tell Jews what to do. You know, you tell Jews what to do, they'll tell you where to get off. You know, that's the kind of people. What's the old expression? 2 Jews, you're going to find 3 opinions. You know?
Yes.
Everybody is a chief. We're a highly individual people. This has been our strength. This has been our weakness. Stiff-necked people, we have trouble. We refuse to bow down to leaders. Just think about it. In the prophets refused to bow down to their own kings, right? The prophets, where it was Jeremiah, Isaiah, Hosea, they refused to bow down to the kings of Israel. Certainly Elijah told Ahab where to get off. I'm not bowing down to you.
But I thought the prophets could only say what God wanted them to say.
Yeah, but through the filter of their own individuality, maybe that is something kind of godly. They would say my allegiance first is to God, to my value system, and not to the king. We see this in the story of Nathan and David. The prophet Nathan made David's ascension to the throne possible. It was he who pushed David's ascendancy, or his role as the king. You remember the first king was Saul, and from the tribe of Benjamin, and who was not a good leader, who was disposed by the prophets, actually. And then Nathan makes it possible for David to be king. But when David committed that horrible sin with Bathsheba, when he arranged the murder of Uriah the Hittite so he could be with Uriah's wife, Bathsheba, Nathan turned on him. Nathan, you can read about it in the prophets, just condemned him. You can't do this. You are wrong. I don't care who you are. I don't care that I put you into power. This is just wrong. My allegiance is to a higher authority, not a king. We are a stiff-necked people. Look at how this played out in Jewish history. Mordechai absolutely refused to bow down to Haman. That's the Purim story. I don't bow down to people, to leaders. They're just flesh and blood. We just celebrated a month ago, Hanukkah. The Maccabees refused to bow down to Antiochus. In the Roman occupation, our ancestors refused to submit to the rule, to Caesar's rule. We would not bow down to Caesar. We fought 3 wars between 65 CE and 135 CE against the Romans. We would not bow down to them. And so it is with the Jewish people. This is who we are. We were a stiff-necked people. This, in some ways, has been our strength. This, in some ways, has been our weakness. In some ways, our stubbornness, our individuality has made us almost unconquerable at times, but it's also made us almost ungovernable. It's made it very hard to lead us as a people. And so it is, you know, with these thoughts that I've had about this week's Torah portion, as we look at what has unfolded in America in this last week, it's very interesting to compare the American people to the Jewish people. We're pretty comfortable in this country. You know, we've done better in this country than any other place in the diaspora. It may be because America is a place that is highly individualistic, and this suits Jews just fine. Again, you know, it's hard to lead the Jewish people. It's, as I said, the Jewish people are almost ungovernable. I wonder if we can say the same thing about the American people. We're a highly individualistic people. It makes it very hard to govern the United States of America. Just throwing it out there for discussion, people.
Interesting.
I want to hear your opinions. What do you think, Randy?
Everything you've just said rings 182% true. It's very, very accurate. And what I discovered as the president of Jewish Family Services. And as a result of everything you just said, Rabbi, I resigned a few weeks ago.
Really?
Yes.
My
really.
goodness. Oh, my goodness.
The board was very, you said it 5 times. You tell these people what they're doing, and they said, get out of here. And I said, I don't need this at this stage of my life.
Yeah.
And all the different issues I won't go over. But I was trying very, very hard. And I didn't think of the parallels at all, honestly, in the last few weeks. But you couldn't have said it better, honestly, in terms of modern day Broward Jewish community. Can't talk about the world.
Wow.
So,
you know, first of all, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that you're not going to be the CEO of the Jewish Family Service, because I think you have some gifts, Randy. I think you have some talents, some experience, some gifts that would have been very precious. But you now understand what Moses was going through. You're going, oh, Moses, I get it.
I absolutely, I never thought of the parallel, honestly. So I'm so glad I joined today, because I said, I don't need this. Now, if God had talked to me, maybe I would feel a little differently. But I just couldn't deal with all these people and the stiff-neckedness and the stubbornness and all the other things.
You know,
we were trying to bring on. So
yeah.
And how it relates to America, I haven't thought that through, honestly.
I haven't thought it through either, but I see parallels in America. I think America is almost an ungovernable country. You know, I come from Canada, originally. I have dual citizenship. And I've lived most of my life now in the United States, but my first 21, 22 years, you know, I was shaped by a Canadian spirit. There's a lot more trust of the government in Canada than there is down here. We don't have such a strong federalist idea. We never had a revolution in Canada. There were a few little rebellions against the British, but, and eventually the British realized what had happened to the South in the United States, and they gradually gave Canada independence, starting in 1867. Right up to the First World War, it was very interesting. In the First World War, there was, we were still, when Britain went to war with Germany and the Austro-Hungarian Empire, the Canadian troops were just supposed to join the British regiments. The Canadians stood up and said, no, this is in 1914, finally. And we were supposed to have been independent from 1867, except the British just expected us to be, our troops to be ruled by, or to be under the command of the British. We said, no, they will be under Canadian officers. Yes, we will obviously fight for Britain, but Canadian troops will be commanded by Canadian officers. So what happened? You look at, and Canadians, there is a different social contract. There is this trust of government. There is this, we have socialized medicine, we have gun control, and there are right-wing, very conservative people in Canada too, but generally we go, well, listen, we're in this together. There's more of a collective idea. In the COVID pandemic, let me just show the difference between Canada and the United States. Canada is not so, maybe not so Jewish, maybe not so individualistic. Canada, they've closed down things across the country. They've made wearing masks the rule of the land, even though we have 10 provinces. And you know what? There are 37 million people living in Canada. There have only been 15,000 COVID deaths. Canada is a little more than 1/10 the size of the United States. So if you to find a comparison, you take the 15,000, you times it by 10, it would be the equivalent of about 150,000 people dying if we compared it to the United States. The United States has had, what, 370,000 people, more than double the rate of COVID deaths. Because people in the United States, you're not going to tell them that they have to wear masks. You're not going to tell them that they have to quarantine. It's a different kind of system. Go ahead, Marlene. I want to hear what you have to say.
Well, I want to go back to what you said about Americans are hard. It's a hard country to rule. I don't agree totally. I think that's too much of a generalization.
Okay.
It depends on your leader.
Yeah.
And that's for a country, a company, a household, a school. If you have a strong, decisive leader who can take suggestions.
Yeah.
And I want to give our country a little bit more credit than, we're not hard to rule. It's been such a terrible over a year now with sickness and now our disruption in our politics. It was disgraceful, but I believe that there's enough strong people and we have enough strong leaders to bounce back. Remember, we're still the country that most countries will turn to for help, for aid, for advice. Maybe not so much now, but we'll be bouncing back. And we have 330 million people as compared to Canada. Our deaths, one death is too many, but Canada has been much stronger in their lockdowns, in their shutdowns.
Yes, yes. And Canadians haven't, there's been some protests in Canada about the mask, but not like here. Most Canadians say, okay, I don't know whether I need to wear a mask, but I will because I'll go along with it. Okay, Stanley, I want to hear what you have to say.
Okay. The problem with the United States is we don't teach leadership in school. The teacher, the administration is the leadership in school. At home, the parents or guardians are the leadership. The only place that I know of that teaches leadership and lets them practice leadership is the Girl Scouts and the Boy Scouts.
That's interesting.
The only
I
one.
know you've been.
Last month, I gave a talk to the boys in our troop on leadership. And I even gave it a problem, and they discussed the problem pertaining to leadership. But it's not taught. Leadership has to be taught and then exercised at a younger age. It is not. What holds us together, the United States, is a rule of law embedded in the Constitution. When I went into the Army, I raised my hand and I said, I will defend the Constitution to all foreign and domestic enemies.
Mhm.
They have not, at this time, said they're free from that, that commitment. And I feel that I'm not free from that commitment. Right now I'm reading A Promised Land. The book is 700 pages, written by Barack Obama. And everything he did, and I said to myself, I said to Barbara, I said, thank goodness I'm not president of the United States.
Mhm.
But everything he did in his 8 years, there was, he said white, the Republicans said black. So they had a compromise on this, on anything, everything. I mean, even going to the bathroom, they had a compromise. But that's how our system works. And then we are among individuals. And we went and conquered this nation as individuals going out west. We conquered this nation. And we threw out the French and we threw out the Spanish to make this one nation. And even the Russians, because we took Alaska from, we borrowed Alaska from Russia.
Mhm.
But it comes down to, you have to be taught. Rommel was defeating the Americans in the desert when the Americans first got into the desert. But
Yeah.
he turned around and he said to his people, to his officers, if I had the American soldiers, I could conquer the world.
Yeah. Well, okay.
Because they're
So the individual,
individuality is very important, and that's what makes us different to Canadians, I think, or
Yeah,
anywhere else in the world.
But here's the thing, you know, we talk about leadership and that responsible leadership. But what about responsible followership? I don't know if
Can
there's
I
such
answer
a,
that?
yeah, is there
can I
such
answer
a
that
thing
question?
as this is what Randy was up against. Is there such a thing? Okay, you know, you have to, you know, you should question your leaders. There's no doubt about it. You shouldn't just go along with what, but is there such a thing as responsible followership? Okay, I'm
Yes.
listening to the leader. I may not
Yes.
agree with everything he or she is trying to do.
That's what I was teaching last month, that you are a leader and a follower at the same time.
Okay.
You're a leader and a follower at the same time, because you have the responsibility. When the leader needs guidance, you have to step in. You're a follower, but being a follower, you still have the responsibility to step in when the leader is in trouble or the leader goes off cock.
You
And
give the
That's why we
leader
have this problem right now.
exactly. Okay, Barbara, let's hear Barbara.
I just want to say, I think we need to emphasize teamwork. You know, like coming, and a team, when you have a team, you still need a leader. But I like what you said, Rabbi, that you need followers to be the leaders too.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yes.
I've always said for myself, I always say I'm a very good team player. I'm not necessarily one who likes to be in charge, but if I buy in, you can count on me. And I think maybe this factor of buying in is somehow a problem. Now, last night after services, we were talking to Joy and Peter Vanek in Toronto. And they told us over the past 2 days, Joy said she was watching the CNN news about America, and she noticed her face was wet. She said she actually cried for us. And she said, you know, Canadians, we're not like that. You know, we were talking politics and we were talking pandemic, and she was saying how things are more shut down with the pandemic now. Basically, there's more tightening and more at home, and kind of what you were saying. But it's more of they're told what to do and they buy in easier. And so I'm wanting to say it's something about our buy-in ability. How are we going to manipulate leading and following?
You know, there's that balance between being skeptical, and I think a certain skepticism is beneficial as a follower, as a team player. You listen to what your leaders are saying, and you ask them appropriate question. Well, I don't understand where you're going with this, or are you sure you want to do it? But when the majority says, or you know, you need to be able to give the leader some leeway to lead you, and you have to go along with the majority. Sometimes you go, okay, I'm outvoted this time, but let's see, I could be wrong. You know, there's always that possibility. I could be wrong. You know, I see it this way. I'm questioning the leader, but I might be wrong. Where is, you know, it's a, you know, it's a delicate balance.
I think
Randy, what were you going to say? Because you've been on that. You have recent experience with this.
Well, but thinking more about America and the other international countries, it's maybe a culture. And in a way, Rabbi, what you began is probably an accurate statement. America is very similar to the Jewish world, or vice versa. If you look at countries like Vietnam and Korea and countries in the Far East, their COVID rates are significantly below ours. And they were told early on, you must do this. This is not an option. This is, and there were dire consequences. And as a result, they controlled it. So they were led, but if you will, told, and in a sense. And their cultural was more not paternalistic, but forcefully said, these are the dire consequences. America is much more individualistic.
Yes.
And we couldn't impose the sanctions that those countries
Couldn't do it.
imposed.
Yeah.
And as a result, America is still the greatest country in the world compared to that. So having the individualism makes us greater than those other authoritative countries. And in a way, which is what you began with saying, that's the Jewish individualism makes the Jews greater in one sense than the non-Jewish. So,
but you just went through I would call it an airplane propeller. You can't see it, you know, it's going so fast. I mean, it can chew up Jewish leaders incredibly quickly, very quickly. And, you know, I've been friendly with the CEOs of the Jewish Federation of Broward, and I've seen them just be eaten up, chewed up, and spit out. very quickly. I've seen this with rabbis. My congregation, I've had a pretty, this is my 24th year. I've had it, not that we haven't had dust ups, as I call them here at Temple Bethel, little political rebellions here or there along the way. But hey, I'm still here and I'm pretty happy and I have a nice relationship with my congregants. But the Jewish community can be a very tough place to work. And we're hard on leaders, but can we be too hard on our leaders? I have my political leanings. I don't like to push them from the pulpit because that's me, and people have different political leanings, and it's not up to me to tell people how to vote or whatever. But I'd say on a personal level, when the person I didn't vote for is elected, when the person I didn't vote for gets elected, I take a breath and I go, well, I got to wish this person the best. We only have one president at a time. Let's give this person a chance. Maybe this person will surprise us, quite frankly,
He's surprised.
I have served probably under 20 synagogue presidents. Here at Temple Bethel, I think it's 9 or 10, maybe 11. I'm not sure. 10 easily. I've seen some people coming up in the ranks, and I'm going, she's going to be a great president. I can just see it. I've seen other people coming up in the ranks, and I go, ooh, I don't know. This person is kind of a, what a Kochlöffel is in Yiddish? A soup spoon who stirs things up. And I've seen, and sometimes, but I go, I got to help this person. I have to help this president be the best president that he or she can be, because we have no choice. This is the synagogue is spoken, the leadership is spoken, the membership is spoken. We have to rally around this person, and we have and of course I have to be somewhat neutral. I'm sort of the I'm not the chief executive of a synagogue. I'm kind of the head of state. It's sort of ceremonial. I have moral authority, but no real power as the rabbi. So I watch The Crown. I watch The Queen. I kind of go, yes, you just have to. This is my president. I have to help them, regardless of what I think. Sometimes I have been pleasantly surprised. I've had people, I can think of a couple of people that I thought, and of course I will always smile and congratulate them. And I will honestly do whatever I can to help a temple president. But sometimes I've had to put my skepticism aside, and I've been surprised. The person became presidential. I went, oh, this person used to fight with everybody on the board. Now they're a peacemaker. Look at this. Whew. I'm so proud of this person. Sometimes it hasn't worked that way. Sometimes we've had, that happens. But to be a responsible follower, to be a responsible follower is the person is elected, and you can question them. But we just saw how Moses, Perry, good to see you. Perry is good to see you, Perry. We just looked at the experience of Moses in this week's Torah portion, and beyond, and how hard it was, how depressing it was, and how close to a breakdown Moses came, and how ungovernable sometimes the Jewish people is. That's what our discussion has been about. Sometimes, maybe, again, being a responsible leader and being a responsible follower. You don't want to be too much of a follower. That's giving, you don't want to let a leader run amok. But you don't want to be so tough on your leaders that you make it impossible for them to lead. What is the Goldilocks, the Goldilocks zone? Not too hot, not too cold, not too cynical, not too naive. I don't know. It's there someplace.
Can we mention Moses's age when he became a leader?
Good
Right.
question.
He was an old man, right?
Well, I'm not sure.
Well,
I'm just thinking, I don't know if it mentioned his age, did it? I don't think it did.
okay. Then I thought he was like around 80 years old when
I
he.
think you may be thinking about Abraham.
Okay, because I was gonna say,
because I'm not aware.
okay.
I'm not aware.
Oh,
But he might, you could do the calculus. Well, 40 years in the desert, and then he died before. Okay, how long did those 10 plagues take to unfold? How long was he in conflict with Pharaoh, etc.? I don't know. That's a good question.
Yeah.
I would guess he was a middle-aged man by the time he wasn't a boy.
Because I was thinking how you change as you age, and you have that knowledge, possibly wisdom, as you progress in life about how you should handle things.
Yes.
Barbara, that's an interesting point that I really wrestled with because, and I talked to a lot of people before I made these decisions, and I concluded that had I been 40 years old, I would have reacted differently. At my age at 65, I'd say, I don't need this aggravation. I don't need it. I'm not doing it for financial reasons. And I just couldn't. I was like Moses. I said, I don't need this. But at 40 years old, I would have reacted differently.
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, you're,
Sure.
I'm the same way. Perry, incidentally, you came in late, but Randy was the CEO of the Jewish Family Service in Broward, and he recently resigned just because, again, he said, I'm 65 years old. It was a tough fight to get anything done. I'm just paraphrasing what I think you're saying, Randy. I'm the same way as in my stage. Would you say?
I've been a big supporter of the Jewish Family Services.
Yeah, but the board drove poor Randy a little crazy. And they were hard to lead. And I'm the same way, next year will be my 40th year in the rabbinate. I'm in the sunset of my career. So that 40 years in the desert, 40 years in the wilderness. And there were times, Randy, when I was 40 years old and I had a wife and kids, and there was a lot of conflict in my last congregation. I basically wasn't the target. There was a lot of contention within the board, within the leadership. I really succeeded in, and there were times when I just said, it's very contentious. I went on and did my own thing. I found a way of surviving and not being the target. But when I was in my 40s and late, I had a mortgage. I'm trying, I can't quit a job in the middle of, you know, I can't walk away now. I got a reputation. I got all of that. You lump it at 40. And you get to a certain point, you get older, you're a little more financially secure. You're more secure in your abilities as in your skills, your leadership skills. And you go, you know what? It's not worth the fight now. You know, I don't need it. It gives you a certain freedom, though. It does give you a certain freedom if they because you know, if you don't look like you need them,
But
you know, it's kind.
it also gets to what your point. Jews are very difficult people. So I am now the fourth CEO in 5 years to leave this organization.
I know, yeah.
So, and even before that, there was a high turnover. And it's just that group of Jews don't know how Barbara, you said, be respectful followers and supportive followers.
Since I have been here, there have been a number of CEOs of the Federation. Some of them were really very good people, strong people, and they just couldn't take it. Broward is especially hard. I think Miami-Dade, they're a little, I don't know, maybe they seem to hold on to their leaders a little bit longer. I don't know, maybe it's because it's a much older community. Many more people were actually born in Miami-Dade. Many more Jews are third generation Jews. In Broward, we're almost all trans.
It's Bonnie Schwartzbaum territory.
Huh?
Bonnie Schwartzbaum territory.
Could you explain that?
Yes.
Bonnie is the pantry manager for the Miami.
Yes, I know her.
Bonnie is phenomenal. And I don't want to make this about me.
No, but it's so interesting that you are on the Zoom call today, Randy, because you offer a very important perspective. Well,
can I make a late comment on Moses, if you wouldn't mind?
Sure. Yeah, I'd like to hear it, Perry.
Okay.
By the way, Perry and I are somehow related. We haven't quite figured it out. We're both Romanian Jews, which means, you know how we Romanian Jews, we're all gypsies, you know that. You know how we Romanian Jews make an omelet? We steal a dozen eggs. That's how we start making it. Anyway, go ahead.
So the essence of Moses to me is that he didn't choose to be a leader. That was not his. That was not his role. Was not his desire. Was not his.
Yes.
He was pushed into the role. In fact, he was demanded into the role. He did not. He was reticent to accept the role.
Yes.
So, and he was given a lot of help. Aaron was given to him to be his spokesperson.
Yes, absolutely.
So he came in with a lot of help.
He did, but you know, before you tuned in, you know, we looked at a passage in Numbers where he says, God, it is too much. What did I do, God, to deserve this? Right. That's what he's saying. He said, kill me. He actually said, God, I'd rather die than carry this burden of the Jewish people. We are an Kashay Orif, and I think we need, whether you're on a synagogue board, whether you're on the board of a Jewish organization, a community organization, whether you're on any kind of board, Jewish or not, I think we have to, if we're wise, if we're not the leader, if we're just the follower, or you know, a lower down official, maybe on a board, I think we have to, if we're wise, we take the lesson with us from Moses, that it's hard to be a leader. Help the leader, you know, cut him or her a break as much as you can. If they're really out of line, they're out of line. You got to call them on it. But, you know, gently, politely, that's the Canadian me, politely. Gently, politely, criticize when you need to. Don't question every little thing that they do. You know, give them some latitude to enact their program. And I think, you know, I was just thinking, you know, Barbara and Randy are on the board. You know, this CEDRA would be a good CEDRA to introduce, to share with new synagogue temple board members, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
Listen, you're not always going to like what the group decides. You're not, you know, argue your position strongly, intelligently, politely, respectfully. And unless it is so against your principles, go along with it. If it's really against your principles, you have a decision to make. Maybe you shouldn't be on the board. Okay, maybe you should leave. I understand that. But, you know, most issues are not that great. You got to see it and hold open the possibility you might be wrong. I like to be proved wrong. And I've been proved wrong. Sometimes the board, the synagogue board has made a decision. I go, this is lame. I keep my mouth. I wouldn't use that word when I would talk to them, but I would argue. I don't think. And, you know, as it's played out, you know, I look 6 months down the road, I go, you know what? They were right. I was wrong. They were right. You always have to be, if you're a responsible leader, if you are a responsible follower, you should be humble, and you should and be ready to say, you know, the other guy's right, or he was right, she was right, I was wrong.
I like that word humble, and I think that relates to Moses also.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Okali dokali. Where's my talus? I just got to go over
Right,
here.
just. Rabbi,
Yes, sir.
the final Jeopardy question.
Final Jeopardy.
You don't get a prize.
Oh, boy, do we miss,
Why did
Alex
God-
Trebek?
Yeah, why did God give no credit for Moses taking them out of Egypt? Everything we say is, the Lord,
Yes.
taken out of Egypt. And
Outstanding.
all
Isn't
our
that wonderful?
prayers and Passover and Passover Sagadas, there's no Moses.
Moses is not mentioned in the traditional Haggadah.
Yeah.
You know,
Interesting.
I think it's important.
That's the final Jeopardy question.
I like it. Confidence is very important. You want your leaders to have confidence, self-confidence, very important. But when self-confidence becomes arrogance, when there's no humility, that's a bad situation. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech olam asher titanu v'mitzvotav lehit atef b'tzitzi. Okay, so you got to help me here. Perry, I left the house today without my glasses. I've been doing all of this blind. Now I'm 5-6 miles away from the synagogue. I can't run home and, you know, get something. I forgot. So I got to find the do you have the Mishkan Tefillah there, Perry?
I do.
Oh, you are great. Okay, so we begin. Let's begin with some Zmirot. Oh, well, let's begin with Ma Tovu. Ma Tovu, Ohalecha Yaakov, Ishkenotecha Yisrael. Ma Tovu, Ohalecha Yaakov, Mishkenotecha Yisrael. Very good. Let's read in the English at the bottom of page 192. How fair are your tents, O Jacob, your dwellings, O Israel. I, through your abundant love, enter your house. I bow down in awe at your holy temple. Adonai, I love your holy abode, your temple abode, the dwelling place of your glory. I will humbly bow down low before Adonai, my maker. As for me, may my prayer come to you, Adonai, at a favorable time. O God, in your steadfast faithfulness, answer me with your sure deliverance. Again, humility. I bow down before you. I don't bow down to Haman. I don't bow down to Antiochus. I don't bow down to anybody. I bow down to God. I'm respectful to everybody, but my first alliance is to my God, to my principles. Page 196. Barbara, would you read?
Sure. My God, the soul you have given me is pure. You created it, you shaped it, you breathed it into me, and you protect it within me. For as long as my soul is within me, I offer thanks to you, Adonai, my God, and God of my ancestors, source of all creation, sovereign of all souls. Praised are you, Adonai, in whose hand is every living soul and the breath of humankind. Baruch atah Adonai,
Adonai,
Share
asher
the
Yado,
nefesh
Nefesh Kol Chai, Baruch Kol
ruach kol
Basar.
basar ish.
Very good. Okay, we continue on page 198 with the Nisim B'chol Yom. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech olam asher natan lesechli vina lechachim ben yom uven laila. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech olam pokeach ivri. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech olam matir asuri. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech olam zokef kerufi. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech olam roka haaretz al hamayim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech olam hamechin mitzadei kaveh. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech olam malbish arumim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech olam anoten la'ayef Torah. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech olam hama'avir sheina me'inai utnuma me'afafai. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech olam sha'asani b'tselem Elohim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech olam sha'asani ben ori. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech olam sha'asani Yisrael. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech olam ozer Yisrael bigvura. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech olam oter Yisrael batipara. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech olam asher kedishanu v'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah. Okay, Randy, on page 207, would you read the 8 degrees of the giving of tzedakah, Maimonides?
Oh, that's perfect. Hold on, page 207. Okay.
207.
Yeah, there are 8 degrees in the giving of tzedakah, each one higher than the one before. To give grudgingly, reluctantly, or with regret. To give less than one should, but with grace. To give what one should, but only after being asked. To give before one is asked. To give without knowing who will receive it, although the recipient knows the identity of the giver. to give without making known one's identity, to give so that neither giver nor receiver knows the identity of the other, to help another to become self-supporting by means of a gift, a loan, or by finding employment for the one in need.
The Kaddish de Rabbanan, page 208. Yitgadal v'yitgadash Shemei Rabbah. V'yamad v'rach Yeruteh v'yamlich malchuteh. V'chaychon v'yomechon v'chayed Yechol Beit Yisrael. V'hagala v'yizman karib v'romen. V'hei Shmei Rabbah mevarach li'olam u'l'milamaya. Yitbarach v'yishtavach v'yifa'al v'yiturmam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal Shmei t'kudish ha'brishon. Le'ala min kol berchata v'shirata tushbachata v'nechmata da'amiran v'yalma v'imru amen. Al Yisrael v'al Rabbanon v'al Tamideichon v'al kol Tamideichon v'al kol madaskin v'rayata v'at rahadein v'di v'chol atar v'atar yehi l'chol l'chol shlama rabachina v'chita v'rachamin v'chayin arichin zunei reviche u'forkana mikadam v'chondi v'shamaya v'arav imru amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shamaya v'chayim tovim alinu v'yalko Yisrael v'imru amen. Osei shalom b'imromav hu barachamav yasei shalom alinu v'yalko Yisrael v'yalko Yoshei tevel v'imru amen. By the way, Perry is a Baal Tefillah. He has led services at conservative synagogues all of his life, and he really knows the Shabbos morning liturgy. I'm so glad you're here.
Welcome. Welcome.
Yeah, well, we see a lot. The Pesukei de Zimra on page 212. Baruch Sha'amar V'Haya Ha'olam Baruch Hu Baruch Hu Baruch Sha'amar V'Haya Ha'olam Baruch Hu Baruch Hu Baruch Osei Bereshit Baruch Omer Ve'osei Baruch Gozer Mikayem Baruch Merech Al Haaretz Baruch Sha'amar V'Haya Ha'olam Baruch Hu Baruch Baruch Ata Adonai Melech Mecholal Batishba. Betty, would you read at the top of page 213 with this?
With this do I prepare myself to thank, praise, and glorify my Creator. Blessed are you, Sovereign of life, whom we praise with songs of glory. Baruch atah Adonai,
Melech Mecholal Batishbaot. The Ashrei, should we try and get all the way through the Ashrei today? I think we can do that. Got enough traditionalists here. Ashrei Yoshvei Beitecha, Od Yahalu Chatzela, Ashrei Am Shekachalo, Ashrei Am Sha'adonai Elohav, Tehillah David, Aruimcha Elochai HaMelech, Barcha Shimcha Leolam Va'ed, B'chol Yom Avreka, Yechalal Shimcha Leolam Va'ed, Gadol Adonai Mecholal Me'od, Ugalato Ein Cheket, Dor Shabach Maasecha, Gevratecha Yagidu, Hadar Kavod Hohodecha, V'divrei Neflotecha Asicha, Ve'ezuz Noratecha Yomeru, Ugalatcha Asa Prene, Zecheratuvcha Yabiu, Tzitkacha Yeraninu, Chanun Baruchum Adonai, Erech Apayim Ugadal Chased, Tov Adonai lekol, Rachamav al kol maasecha, Asa Yeducha Adonai kol maasecha, V'chasidecha yevaruchucha, Kavod malchutcha yohomeru, Gevratcha yedaberu, Lehodia lifnei hadam gevorotav, וכבוד הדר מלכותו, מלכותך מלכות כל עולמים, וממשלתך בכל דור ודור. שמח אדוני לכל הנופלים, וזוכר לכל הכפופים. עיני כל עניך ישפרו, ואתה נותן לכם את אכלם בעיתו, פותח את ידיך, ומשביח לכל חי רצון. צדיק אדוני בכל דרכיו, וחסיד בכל מעשיו. קרוב אדוני לכל קוראיו, לכל אשר יקרוהו באמת, רצון ירב יעשה. ואת שבתם ישמע ויושיעם. שומר אדוני את כל אוהביו, ואת כל הרשעים ישפיל. תהילת אדוני ידבר פיו, ויברך ובשר שם קודשו לעולם ועד. אנחנו נברך יד מעתה ועד עולם. Hallelujah. Page 218, Psalm 150. Hallelujah, 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 Bakiria Uzo, hallelujah, Bigurata, hallelujah, Hero Goodlo. Hallelujah, 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 take a shofar, hallelujah, never belchinor, hallelujah, toku machul, hallelujah, biminim ve'ugab. Hallelujah, 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 tzitzlei shama, hallelujah, tzitzlei trua, kol hanshama tel haleluya, kol hanshama tel haleluya. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Page 222. We continue with the second paragraph. Shochenad Maro, Bekadosh Mo, Sovraninu Tzadikim Ba'adonai, La Yesharim Nava Tehila, Befi Yesharim Titala, Udivrei Tzadikim Titbarach, Shon Chasidim Titromam, Eret Kedushim Titadam, Makalot, Revivot, 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 Amcha, Yisrael, Umakalot, Revivot, 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 Amcha, Yisrael, Berina Yikpare, Shimcha Malkeinu, Bechol, Dor Vador, Berina Yipare, Shimcha Malkeinu, Bechol, Dor Vador, Yishtabach Shimcha La'akeinu, La'el HaMelech HaGadol HaKadosh B'Shamayim ובארץ, ילחנה אדוני אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו ואימותינו, שיר שבחה, הלל ושמחה, עוז הממשלה, נצח, גדולה, גבורה, תהילה, תפארת, קדושה, מלכות, ברכות, הודעות מידה מיד עולם, ברוך אתה אדוני, אל מלכות ותשבעות, אל ההודעות, Adona Niflo, Abocher Bishirei Zimra Melech Elchei Haolamim, Yitgadal V'yitkadash Shamei Rava, Yamad V'rach V'rotev Yamlich Malchutei, B'cha Hayechon, U'v'yohomechon, U'v'chayecho B'Yisrael, Bagola, Bagola, Uvizman Kari, Vayimaru Amen, Yehish Meirava Mevora, Leom Me'al Maya, Yitbarach Vishtabach, Yipar Viturman Vitnase, Vitadar Vitale, Vitala, Shmei Kudishah, Lami Kover Chata Vishirata, Tush Bechata V'nechemata, Damiran Be'alma, Ve'imaru, Amen. And we rise for the Baruch Hu. Ya la 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 la
Baruch Adonai Baruch, Lelam Goed.
Baruch Adonai, HaMevorach,
Lelam Goed.
Lai 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 Page 238, we read together in the English. Praised are you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe, creator of light and darkness, who makes peace and fashions all things. In mercy, you illumine the world and those who live upon it. In your goodness, you daily renew creation. How numerous are your works, Adonai. Wisdom, you formed them all, filling the earth with your creatures. Be praised, Adonai, our God, for the excellent work of your hands and for the lights you created. May they glorify you. Shine a new light upon Zion, that we may all swiftly merit radiance. Praised are you, Adonai, creator of all heavenly light. Baruch atah Adonai Yotzer Me'orot. Page 230. Ve'harer b'neinu v'torah v'dabek libeinu v'mitzvotecha ve'yachet לבבנו לאהבה ולרפא שמך ולא נפוש ולא נתעלם ולא נתקשר בשם קודשך הגדול והנורא פתחנו נגילה ונשמחה נגילה ונשמחה בתשועתך ברוך אתה אדוני ערב עמו ישראל באהבה שמע ישראל Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Baruch Shem Kavod Malchuto Le'olam Haba. Page 234. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבביך ודיברת בם, בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם מאוד על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובישעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם. Page 240. You know, I have to use my tambourine when we do Micha Mocha. You know, just who I am. Micha Mocha, Ve'olam sur Yisrael, Uma ve'ezrat Yisrael, Uvdei kinumecha, Yehuda ve'Yisrael, Go'aleinu Adonai tzvot shemo, Kedosh Yisrael, Baruch atah Yisrael. You know, it looks like I'm practicing to be one of those red kettle people, you know, from the Salvation Army at Christmas, who stands in front of the Walmart, you know, with the, it might be a good gig. It might, I don't know. Actually, I put $20 in the kettle in front of Walmart this year. The guy was out there doing his, they do good work. They feed people, and Salvation Army, they do some good stuff, Okay, the tefillah on page 240. He rises. I'm sorry, 244. Baruch atah Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Moses, Elohei El Gadol Adonai, Magen Avraham, Yisrael, Agipol Olam Adonai, Metiv Ataram,
Hoshia,
Umarid Hadgad, El Chayim Vechesed, Mechayim Metiv. So Mechno Klim Erobei Holy, Umatir Asherim, Umekayim.
Emunato, Lishka, Umasli Yeshua Atala Hachiyot Leitim
Adir, Adonai, Adonai, Ma, Adir Shimka, Bechola Aretz, Baruch, Evod Adonai, Bin Kol. Echad hu Eloheinu hu Avinu hu Malkeinu hu Moshiach hu Yashminu Barachayne Kol Kai. Ani Adonai Elohechem, Yimloch Adonai Leolam, Elohayim. Dor vador hallelujah, ledor vador naki gadlecha, ulanetzach netzachim kedushat dish, veshivacha Eloheinu mitino loyim. Baruch atah Adonai ha'el hakadosh, and we take our seats. Page 250. Yismechu b'malchutecha, shomrei, 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 Shabbat, onei Shabbat. Yismechu b'malchutecha, shomrei, 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 Shabbat, onei Shabbat, ha'mekadeshei, Mekadeshei Shabi Shabbat Kulam Yisbeu Veyitangu Mituvecha Shabbat Yismechu Shomrei 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 Shabbat Onei Shabbat Yismechu Bemalchutecha Shomrei, Shomrei, Shomrei Shabbat, Onei Shabbat, Ashvi, Ratzita bo Kidashto, Shabbat, Emdat Yaminoto Karata, Shabbat, Yismechu.
Malach-techa,
Shomrei,
Shabbat,
Onei Shabbat, Yismechu b'malchutecha, Shomrei, Shomrei, Shomrei Shabbat, Bekorei Onei Shabbat, Zecher L'masei the Reishi Shabbat, Zecher L'masei the Reishi Shabbat, Yismechu b'malchutecha, Shomrei, Shomrei, Shomrei Shabbat, Onei Shabbat, Yismechu b'malchutecha, Shomrei, Shomrei, Shomrei Shabbat, Bekorei Onei Shabbat. Let's see. Okay. Marlene, would you read at the top of page 253?
53.
We offer thanks, O God, for this Shabbat, which unites us in faith and hope. For Shabbat holiness, which inspires sacred living. For Shabbat memories glowing even in darkness. For Shabbat peace, born of friendship and love. We offer thanks and blessing, O God. Baruch atah Adonai Makadesh
Shabbat.
Okay, and we continue. We continue with the Modeh Ani Lefanecha, Modim Anachnu Lach, page 256. Let's read together in the English. We acknowledge and thanks you are Adonai, our God, and the God of our ancestors forever. You are the rock of our lives and the shield of our salvation in every generation. Let us thank you and praise you for our lives which are in your hand, for our souls which are in your care, for your miracles that we experience every day, and for your wondrous deeds and favors at every time of day, evening, morning, and noon. O good one whose mercies never end. O compassionate one whose kindness never fails. We forever put our trust in you. For all these things, O sovereign, let your name be forever praised and blessed. O God, our Redeemer and Helper, let all who live affirm you and praise your name in truth. Blessed are you, Adonai. Your name is goodness, and you are worthy of thanksgiving. Baruch atah Adonai Elohim Chalachana Elo. 258. Sim shalom. Sim shalom tova uvracha. Sim shalom tova uvracha. Chen v'chesed v'rachamim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Amen. Archeinu yotzreinu kulanu kecha ve'ohanecha. Sim shalom. Sim shalom tova uvracha. Sim shalom tova uvracha. Baruch atah Adonai, mevarech et amo Yisrael b'shalom. You know, I lead a meditation in the mornings during the week between Tuesday and Thursday, between Tuesday and Friday mornings, 9:30, 15-minute meditation. And we meditated on the Shema. And I said that, look at the word Shema. Look at the word Echad, rather, at the very end of the Shema. Echad. It's a number, one. And the rabbis have translated Echad in other ways besides one. You can obviously it means one, Echad, Shtayim, Shalosh, etc. But it can also be understood as only, exclusive, only. Echad. There's no other one. It's Echad. It's one, indivisible. It can also be understood as indivisible, incidentally. That was an argument between us and the Christians. They had a Trinitarian idea of God. We said, no. God is one. One, you can't divide. One is one. You guys can believe in your Trinity all you like, but we Jews say it's one. So the Kabbalists took it even a step further. You've heard of pantheism, right? Have you ever heard of that? It's a philosophical trend that runs through Kabbalah and other mysticism. Pantheism means that God is found in everything. And there's certainly that notion within Jewish mystical thinking that there are nitzaot, there are sparks of God consciousness, even in material things. And the task of the Jew is to see the holiness, to let go of those holy sparks that are found in everything. But then there's even a more radical idea of oneness that some Kabbalists hold, and philosophers give give it the philosophical name of pantheism. There's pantheism, God is found in everything, and then there's pantheism, which suggests that everything is God. What? There's nothing else but God. God is the only reality. Everything else is, it almost sounds like Buddhism. Everything else is an illusion. Everything else is nothing. There's no real reality outside of God. God is that we dwell within God. It's a radical idea, and it's one that gives me the shivers. It's one that, and yet it comforts me when I'm feeling shaky. There's only God. The only real reality is God. There is yes, we live in this material world, but this material world, everything in it is been brought into existence and is sustained by God. And all of the fighting that goes on, all of the struggle that goes on, is caused by the illusion of separation, of divisions. With God, there's only one. There's only one. And to me, there's a certain wisdom in it. When I'm disagreeing with another person politically or theologically or whatever, to see me here and that other person over there and we're totally separate. No. I think when I think in those Kabbalistic terms, I go, no, there's a oneness between everything, a oneness of all people at some level or another. That doesn't mean we don't disagree sometimes, but I always have to keep in my mind that there's a oneness of everything. God brings everything together. You know, the Kabbalists in Tzfat, in Israel, they on Friday nights, they used to dress in white and they would walk out into the west and watch the walk in the west, in the western edges of Tzfat, and watch the sun set. And they would pray to experience that radical sense of oneness with everything, with God, with everything on Shabbat, and put aside all of the divisions. Isn't that a comforting thought? Is that a beautiful thought? So I just invite you for the next couple of moments, maybe for 2 minutes, to close your eyes. Observe your breathing for a moment or two. Soft breaths, bringing you comfort and a deep sense of shalom, wholeness, clarity. Whatever you've been struggling with this week, whatever burdens you've been carrying, you let them go. Today, Shabbos, we feel a oneness, a radical oneness with all that there is. We let the mind rest. We experience a profound sense of minucha, rest on the Shabbos. Take a deep breath and release it. Oh, say shalom bimromav. Uyase shalom aleinu. Ve'al kol Yisrael. B'imru Yase shalom. Yase shalom. Shalom aleinu. Ve'al kol Yisrael. Yase shalom. Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu V'al Kol Yisrael.
Yisrael.
Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu V'al Kol Yisrael. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu V'al Kol Yisrael. Vayimaru. Amen. We rise for the Aleinu on 586. Aleinu l'shabbat Hayom Hahu Yeh Adonai Echad U'Shemo Echad. This week, Perry lost his dear mother, Betty, who I didn't know in life, but I know my good friend Perry, and you can know someone by the children that they produce. Perry is the most decent, righteous, good-hearted person I know, a man of integrity, and he learned those values from his mother. And Betty must have been a wonderful, wonderful woman. I know she was devoted to her family. I know she was devoted to the Jewish people. She loved people. She was a noble daughter of the Jewish people. And so our hearts go out to you, Perry, and we join you in the Kaddish 598. Yit Gadal,
Kadash Be Rabbah Yalma
Devarach Chirutei Yamli,
Divrei
Achaycho Levi,
Uvachaye Veges
Alav Izman Karim, Yehesh Me Rabba Mevarach Leolam, Yit Barach Ma'ar V'Yit Yitadar Kitale, Eid Kutsha Elam Berchata Shirata, Ushachata Netumata, Damiran Bialmavim Rome, Yehe Shlama Rabba Mishaya, Chayim Aleinu Bialko Yisrael, say Shalom, say Shalom, May Betty's memory be a blessing forever. And we say amen.
Amen.
Well, we don't know who else is watching. We have people watching on Facebook. We have people watching on our streaming service. Some people watch on YouTube, Roku station. So, but we've been a happy little group here in our Zoom meeting, and I have so enjoyed studying with you. And you always lift up my spirits, make me feel good to daven with you. So let's end with Ma Yafeh Hayom. Ma Yafeh Hayom, Shabbat Shalom. Maya Behayo. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Maya Behayo. Shabbat Shalom. Maya Behayo. Shabbat Shalom. And now, would you please pick up your favorite libation? Because we're going to make and I have Kedem grape juice. I'll go home and have the real thing later. Whoa,
I am home and I'm
you
having.
are
the real-
home. And what are you having? Are you having Bailey's?
Cream, that Bailey's. I'm
You know
gonna
what?
buy that.
I bought some for my wife yesterday, but again, I'm Brennan's, St. Brennan's or Brennan.
It's just.
I'm not
as
going to
good.
pay $18 for a bottle of, Bailey's
just-
when I can spend 12 for Brennan's, or it might be St. Brennan.
I hope you didn't
Same
present
thing.
it to. I hope
Huh?
you didn't present it to Marilyn in that fashion.
Oh, no, I said nothing but the
Here.
best for you, honey. Okay. Okay. We'll hold up our glasses. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech olam borei peri hagafen. Amen. I also bought a bottle of extra aged bourbon last night.
I'll be right there.
Okay, come on over, Perry. Extra age dark bourbon. Oh boy. Okay. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech olam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. I can't wait to the time when we can be together and have a proper onig.
Oh, yes. Marlene will do an excellent job.
Marlene, this
Yeah.
lady, okay, Perry, I don't see this lady over here, Marlene.
I see her.
She makes the best onigs ever. We have the best onigs at Temple Bethel.
And I
She's
have a
very-
lot of volunteers that help me.
She's so humble. She
And
always
Perry,
reflects.
I don't know if we actually have met, but my condolences to you.
Thank you so much.
Very
Renee.
much.
Speaking
Yes.
of meeting soon, I hope everyone knows about the COVID shot. And there's plenty available, plenty. I
Not
don't know.
plenty, but there.
I have not been able to get an appointment. I tried online. I've tried through my chart. I've
Yeah.
tried calling the Memorial Hospital system.
Just keep trying.
It's Broward COVID vaccine.
Yes.
.com. And it crashes. You just have to constantly hit it over and over again. We told our
Yes.
neighbors, they got on yesterday. We've done a lot of people. So if you haven't, Rabbi, just. you need to-
Okay, I'll try. I'll keep trying.
Yeah, we're going tomorrow at Vesta View Park. We got it, like Randy said, and we have an appointment for 1:57 PM tomorrow. So we'll
Precise, is that
report that.
150, not 156, not 159, not
157.
158.
Well,
Barbara,
157.
I will tell you,
Barbara.
we did the same, and it was very efficiently run. We
Okay.
waited about 45 minutes to go through the line, which is okay.
Yeah.
And it was very efficient, no pain, well, little pain afterwards, but. we
Okay,
did it
good.
Wednesday, yeah.
Oh, well, that's great. So what is it, browardcovid.com?
No, I think.
Vaccine, Broward COVID vaccine.
Okay, I'll keep trying. Perry, did you get it? Did you get an
I have
appointment?
an appointment on the 18th.
Very nice. Betty, what about you? Are you, get
He's not
set up,
old
Betty?
enough. He's
Yeah,
not
I'm
old
getting
enough.
not old enough yet.
You're not
Ah,
old enough. Oh, you're
be-
a wee lass, as in back in Canada, you'd say you're a wee lass. You know, I grew up with a lot of Scottish people.
I've
Did
got
you,
mine.
Perry, did you know a lot of Scottish people growing up?
Obviously.
Yeah, there were a lot of Scott. You're a
Toronto?
wee lass. You're a wee lass. You're not old enough to get one of these vaccinations.
Yeah.
I'm going on the
Oh.
20th. Joe Biden and I have a big day on the 20th.
Yeah, I know.
Oh.
And it's my wife's birthday as well. It's my wife's
Oh.
birthday.
Oh, I
Huh?
have to remember that.
She's a wee lass too. A lot,
Yeah.
yes. Okay, everyone. Love you all. And
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom. See you
All right,
all.
thanks. All right, bye-bye.
Oh, wait a minute. Randy,
Yes.
you were going to be my guest on a Friday night. I'm going to call you late. I think maybe next Friday night, even though it won't be in the capacity as the CEO of, you'll just be a guest, just an honored guest from the board.
Thank you, but let's talk about this before I say yes. and
I'll
then
give you a call.
Okay, great. All
Okay,
right.
good.
All right, thanks,
Take
bye-bye.
care,